you said there's people, you're Haitian and you have a Haitian parent and a white parent, and you
Yeah.
said there's folks
Mhm.
in your family who support Trump, the white folks in your family. I don't really know the white side of my family at all, outside of my mother. I don't know anybody who supports Trump, and I've been saying that if you support Trump, you're a racist, plain and simple. But I don't have anybody in my family who supports Trump. And then we have Ben Jealous on a couple weeks, not a, God, it was last week, I guess, former director of the NAACP, who has a white parent as well, and said he has white folks in his family who supported Trump. Again, I don't know what that's like, but do you think at this point, if you are supporting Trump, you're a racist?
I definitely think you're complicit to racism, and oftentimes you are a racist. I think racism is so complex, but the results of racism are still very much the same. The dehumanization of Black people, the relegating of Black people to the background, or othering of people of color, and so certainly that's racist. But I don't necessarily know that if every single person that's voting for Trump is necessarily the kind of racist that we think about when we think about the far right, perhaps, right? A lot of people are single issue voters. I think the Democratic Party often underestimates the degree to which abortion is an issue for a lot of conservatives, and how the evangelical base is very much in support of Trump, not because he's, this all around great conservative, but because a singular issue, he happens to be aligned. And I think there are others that are very much the don't tread on me. I want small, limited government, and certainly he's delivering on that in some respects. And there's trade offs there, and unfortunately, they're very problematic trade-offs there. But I think for me, and I don't even try to excuse the fact that I have white family members that I don't know very well. Like I just reunited with my father in the last 2 years, so we don't know
Mm-hmm.
each other. We're still getting to know each other. But certainly, I would say we should not underestimate the degree and power of fake news. Like, this man sends me text messages that are so riddled with untruths and like just blatant lies, and indoctrinations, right, and propaganda, and that's pervasive. And so not only do you have an electorate that may be single issue, but you do have an electorate that's widely misinformed, right? And that's propelling what we're seeing.
It's interesting. I think they racist, but that's just me. That's
you
me.
know,
And you know what I say too. People get freaked out by the term racist, but what I tell people is that I believe that most white folks are racist. They're programmed to be that way. I believe most rich folks are classist. You're programmed to be that way. I believe most men are sexist. They are programmed to be that way. And most folks haven't done the work to unlearn those things. So I tell people,
right,
don't freak out. I tell well, I guess I don't really tell them, but I'm thinking, don't freak out when you hear the word racist because you've
right,
been taught that way. That's how it's been designed.
yeah,
That's what
I
makes
get
this
that.
function of white supremacy work. But I could be wrong too. Like I don't really have any.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a matter of right or wrong. I think that you're correct in the fact that racism is so pervasive in our society and culture that you can participate in it, and it's not necessarily top of mind that you're participating in it, even though you're perpetuating and perhaps supporting individuals that are blatantly racist. And certainly, what I think the real argument is that racism wasn't a deal breaker for a lot of the individuals that chose to vote for Donald Trump, and so therefore they're complicit and/or racist themselves. But I think to me, it's like, but we can't discount the other motivating factors here, right? And because people are complex, and I don't necessarily know if the wide swath of people who supported Trump consider themselves to be racist, even if they may have racist proclivities. And this may not have been their primary motivation in going to the polls and voting for Trump. And I think making that nuanced kind of correlation and drawing that out is important if we think about what are the issues that are really motivating them. And it's not just blatant racism and hatred for the other. I don't personally believe that.
Let's go to Sheila from Arizona. What's up, Sheila?
Hey, Clay, how are you today?
Doing good, thank you.
Clay, I feel like both you and your friend Richard are right. I think one of the things I'm struggling with is when I talk with white people who like support Trump, none of them think they're racist. They think that all the rest of us are just crazy and paranoid, and we look at them and we think they're crazy and paranoid, and so they think that you know so like that, but they are racist. All of them are racist, and they just don't care. So that's what I have figured out. That this concept that you guys talk about a lot, like the dominant narrative. they're the dominant narrative. That's the whole thing. And they just can't get beyond that, I think.